information. To make this work, I do what?
To make it work.
Yeah, just click. Or press any key.
As our Toastmaster so eloquently stated, to spike and slam your message, know your audience. Well, today my audience is,
Us.
it's you. Normally, it isn't you. Normally, I'm out in the world and I'm doing something else. So knowing your audience with today's technology is pretty darn easy if you do your research. We have the internet. For instance, when I'm going to speak to the Westerners Club here in Monterey, I looked up their Facebook page. That's right. And there they have pictures of them doing various things. I also know who their president is, who their vice president is, and what their general political backgrounds are, so that you're very careful. Look at these four people. If I had never been here before, these four individuals who are with our club, I wouldn't know anything about them. None of them are from the same country. Different languages. Who are you talking to? That is what I was just addressing, is absolutely, if you want, think about the word know. It's knowledge. You're going to speak. Why? If you're speaking in a class, you want your professor to know that you know what he or she gave you. So that's your audience. Need to know. I have no idea, if I was new and was an outsider, what the political backgrounds of these people are. So if I were to come in and give my icebreaker, let's say on my political ideas, and I talked pro-Trump or anti-Trump, that would be a foolish thing to do in any situation without knowing for sure. If I'm speaking at the Republican convention, I'm going to feel pretty confident in whom I'm going to talk about. Otherwise, be very careful. You don't know unless you know your audience. Research it. If you're going to speak to Toastmasters NPS, you can find us on our Facebook page. Simple as that. Look us up. Do your research. What are you talking about? Do you know?
Super fun.
Are you being asked in your speech to inform? That's what I'm doing today. I'm informing you. I'm telling you something. I'm telling you, you better know why you're talking. Are you informing us about an idea? Are you informing us about a country? Were you inspiring us like Chris did the other day? What are you talking about? Are you persuading us to reconsider our view of marijuana purchase, like our friend was here? And he was entertaining us as well. That's something else. If you can combine your message and entertain, that's the best thing to do. These two guys down here, they're entertaining us. That's the point. So know what you are doing. I have seen speaker after speaker after speaker seem to have no actual idea about why they are telling this speech, about what is the gift they're giving. No clue. If they're there to inspire us, you better have something inspirational to share. If you're there to entertain us, well, you had better let me entertain you. Somehow, you're coming up with something that's entertaining. Tilly Lewis, the Tomato Queen. I'm not doing this just to push my book, but if you haven't read it, I'm telling you, it's on its way to a bestseller and hopefully a movie, and I'm not kidding about that. Now, when I'm talking about Tilly Lewis, the Tomato Queen, you might be thinking to yourself, especially our new gal, Daniela, a tomato queen? Was she a beauty queen with a little banner? No, no, no. Tilly Lewis has many ideas about her. So when I'm asked to speak, I ask first, know your audience. What do they want me to share about Tilly Lewis? Within this one book, I can focus on the wars, World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, and Vietnam. And just that. Because my audience is a bunch of military guys and that's what they want to know about. How did she help, and she did, all of those functions. Now, if I don't know my audience, didn't look them up, I might come in and tell them the gossip, the glamour, and the glitz of Tilly Lewis, who was furs and diamonds and lords and ladies and all that wonderful stuff. Well, they would hate that. But another audience of women in fashion would love that. Know your audience. Tilly's mansions. If you're talking about two realtors, you talk about that, about the value of the real estate she bought, not just mansions, but real property. She bought business after business after business, and how did she turn that into, from being born in the Brooklyn tenements to ending up owning thousands and thousands of acres and beautiful properties to live in as well. In addition, Ziegfeld Follies, Old Hollywood. Look at all of these ideas, all of these speeches I can give, you can give with whatever it is you happen to be doing. Does that make sense? Is that making sense to you? Because that's what I want you to know, is whatever you're talking about, know your audience and focus on that. Focus on what they are going to be interested in. Now, how do I know this? Just by looking at internet? Does anybody have another idea about what I could do to know? Any idea? How about make a phone call? Who hired me? Who hired me? Somebody hired me. I get paid for this now. What would you like me to talk about? And you get that back in writing. If it's a professor, what do they really want? If it's a professor, just an idea. What did they get published on? What does your professor have out there in the world? Quote him or her as an expert. Just a thought. Know your audience. Know your audience. Keep the attention of your audience. I want you looking at me. Do I want you looking at me and thinking, her hair is out of place, she has lipstick on her teeth? If you're speaking at a luncheon, they somehow know to feed you spinach salad. Yeah. I fear one thing. Spinach phobia on my teeth. Right here. I don't eat before the event because sure enough, I got something right about here. And they won't tell you. Zippers down. You make sure all of these things are okay, that they are, you keep the attention of your audience, but for a good reason. You do not want that toilet paper on your shoe. You don't. So keep the attention of your audience in a positive way. I speak about history. Therefore, when I speak, you are seeing the kind of outfit I wear when I'm speaking. Because this is historically 1940s, 1950s. I'm comfortable in this kind of attire. I don't threaten other people. If I wore something really risque, that would threaten other people. Am I right? We do not want any focus on anything other than my message. Unless I'm a stripper, I would stripper pole. I don't want that to be my message. I want my history to be my message. Seating. This is not the best seating arrangement. It's the best we have. So know your seating arrangement when you're talking so that you have the stage correct. We talked about things like we've got this bump right here, so we have to be careful about that. So know how you're seating people, okay? So that you've got the best focus for you. You are being focused on the best way. It could be, if everybody was this way, that I needed to be here. Just because the lectern is there doesn't mean I have to be there, right? Exactly. So find where the best place is going to be for you. Lighting. Who has actually professionally spoken before? Okay, turn off the lights. How many people are gonna fall asleep? At least one. One or two, you're gonna hear this. You're gonna hear it. So lighting, don't have the lights too dark because somebody's going to take a snooze, and that's a little insulting. And then I feel compelled to walk right up and go, hi, enjoying yourself? Go ahead. And they don't like that. So you don't want it too bright, you don't want it too dark. You want the lighting to be correct. Sound. Do you have a rock and roll party next door? Is it too loud? Are they able to hear you? Is there a problem with the microphone? That kind of stuff is something you as the speaker need to talk to whomever is in charge to get rid of the noise. Screaming babies don't count, you can't be rude. Time. What time of day is this? If you can get this at a time that you can have the maximum audience, perfect. Also time, are you given too short a period? Are you given too long a period? How confident are you in your speech? Can you speak for an hour and a half? Lord knows I can. But when I began Toastmasters, I couldn't. This is a learned skill. Conflict far cooler than you. I promise you, do not speak when the Rolling Stones are 1 mile away from you that day at the same time. Don't do it. No one's going to show up to hear you. Does that make sense? I did, in fact, speak at the Tilly Lewis Theater. What a show-in, right? Tilly Lewis Theater, I'm talking about Tilly Lewis. Across campus at the college I was at, from the Tilly Lewis Theater, they had the school's party. Woohoo! It was a dreadful turnout. I still got paid, but a dreadful turnout. Still not good for your ego, not good for your message. I wanted my message out there. Okay, and that message was about being cool in school and how the Tilly Lewis whole program keeps you cool in school. Know your audience. Do you have the idea about knowing your audience? What can we do? Carl, what can we do to know our audience? Internet?
Yeah.
What else?
Anything that's in writing about the organization?
Anything in writing about the organization? Perfect. Brad?
Phone call.
Phone call. Call the person that is there for you, that you're connecting with. Do that. Know your people that you're going to talk to, their background, their interests. I promise you, you flash at the pioneer ladies of America, you flash their families. What, Stagecoach? I did that. I put their stagecoach up from one of their crossings from the east to California. They were thrilled. The preference of your audience. Don't talk about, don't wear your MAGA hat at a Democratic convention thing. Don't do that. No, bad. And if you do that, you will convert complete strangers into an excited, knowledgeable, contented, happy audience. And in a school situation, an A. Convert your knowledge, your message into the best A, the best performance, the best message you could possibly give. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wow, so Kyle's speech was really something. She sent me a list of questions before today's meeting. A lot of them were yes/no questions, and I'll tell you, Kyle, the answer to most of them is yes. In fact, all the yes/no questions, the answer was yes. There was one at the end, though, that she highlighted and put in bold. I'm going to address that one up front, and then I'll go into the kind of good and the bad. So her main objective here was to know if I felt better informed about how knowing my audience will improve my next performance. The bottom line is absolutely. In fact, I feel like I will approach speech preparation differently now after hearing her presentation today, because this is an oft overlooked aspect of speech preparation. Most people like myself, when you find out you have to give a speech, you research the topic, you kind of figure out your organization and some of your little phrases that you're going to throw in there, and you mostly focus internally on what you are going to do and how you are going to handle the speech. And I think a lot of us often forget that we are only half of the equation, or maybe even less than half. The other half of the equation is important to understand, to consider, to react to. So Kyle's speech today really drove that point home. So I will say that, at least for me, I feel like I learned a lot from it, and hopefully we'll be able to put it into practice in my next speech or presentation. Okay, so talking about a couple good things and a couple less good things. I like the rule of threes, 3 good, 3 bad. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. I'm going to do 4 and 2. 4 good, 2 less good. Still 6 though, so I think I'm still okay. So the 4 things that I thought really stood out to me as excellent about this speech. First thing, and it's kind of a multitude of things lumped together, but her vocal variety, her clarity, her presence up here on the stage, and her use of the room. Now, all 4 of those things held my attention. It was a 15-minute speech, so it was long, and for people like myself with short attention spans, it can be easy for the mind to wander. That did not happen because she was so clear and her vocal variety kept me engaged. Number 2, she used pictures of us, of club members, and she called out a few questions to us, so she involved the audience, not just vocally through asking us questions, but also by putting pictures of us. It kind of helps us relate to what she's talking about. This isn't an abstract concept. This is actually something that we are doing here during our meetings. And the third thing, she addressed not just speaking, but writing. This is not limited to just public speaking, but for those of us that are writers or in school here, these concepts can be applied and should be applied to our writing as well. And the 4th thing is what I've already talked about, is that I've absolutely learned something today. So that is an important part. The 2 things, and these are very nitpicky, that I'll put in the less good category. First, maybe just the way my mind works, I like to map out what the speech is how the speech is going to flow. And I didn't really get that in the speech. Like, hey, we're going to talk about these couple things in this order, and these are going to be the main concepts we cover today. So at least it orients me to which direction we're going. I think we did, but it was kind of lost a little bit in the early slides. And the second thing is just a little minor nitpicky slideology things. I thought it was kind of a little bit ironic, humorously ironic, that her keep the attention of the audience slide was distracting to me. Because there was like 5 different pictures. There's a picture of the Rolling Stones. There was a phrase down here that she didn't get to till the very end of this slide's portion. So while she was talking earlier, I was looking at that like, what does that have to do with what she's saying? So I would say cut down on some of that, or just make sure that the slide itself is not distracting from what you're talking about. And the last thing is, again, very nitpicky, pictures, borders around them so they don't run together. Some of the pictures that are the same colors kind of blend together into one big kind of mishmash. But overall, like I said, those are very nitpicky things. I was very happy with the speech. Like I said, I learned a lot, so thank you.